Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Hendrell Remus. He's the chairman of the Tennessee Democratic Party. Mr. Chairman, you talked about you're getting a good response out in the rural areas when you talk to people about what the Democrats will want to do. But isn't the problem the national image of the Democratic Party so much different than most Tennesseans are on issues like guns, abortion, immigration? How do you overcome that? I mean, Tennessee Democrats have not been winning elections on this on the state level or in the district level for a long time in Tennessee.
Yeah, I think that's right, and it's an accurate assessment. I think Democrats in states all across the country are facing that same issue where the national narrative that Fox News usually is spreading and framing has become a huge issue. But I think we go out in these areas and we face them head on, but then we pivot and we talk about the issues that's most important. Because if you're a gun owner, obviously you don't want to be having to pawn the rifle you hunt with just to put a decent meal on the table or to keep your utilities on. So I think there's a way we can go out and really articulate these things. I'm a Christian, I'm a gun owner, I'm a dad, so I understand, I get it. But at the core of it, we've got to talk about how we put more money in people's pockets, how we keep them healthy, and how we keep them living long enough to enjoy the lives that they've set up. And the culture wars, I don't think it benefits us to wade into them.
On a national level, we saw news out of the Supreme Court this week that one of the Supreme Court justices is retiring. That's President Biden has said he's going to put an African-American woman in that position. He hasn't said who that's going to be yet. Is that going to help the president build back his numbers up with the African-American vote? People in the African-American community have been a little disappointed on the voting rights issue and some other things. They don't think he's been active enough. Will this help sort of bring some rapprochement about that between him and that group?
Well, I think it'll help to give America equal representation, the needed representation. It's long overdue to have an African-American woman on the Supreme Court. So I applaud the president for taking that initiative. Look, we saw in the polls before the 2020 election where they said Joe Biden isn't connecting with African-American voters and he's down in the polls with African-American voters. And the numbers were overwhelming on Election Day. I have no doubt that African-Americans will stick with the policies of the Democratic Party because we've been the party that has truly created a space for African-American progress in the country. So, I think the poll numbers are a bit skewed and the shock effect, but ultimately I think African-Americans will overwhelmingly continue to support Democrats.
Back here in Tennessee, Governor Bill Lee, Republican, is seeking re-election to a second term. Tennessee governors have had an easy time getting a second term since we allowed that to happen back when we changed the Constitution in the mid-1970s. What's your strategy and who's your candidate to beat Bill Lee later this year?
Yeah, well, we've got three candidates who are out there running hard now, J.B. Smiley and Dr. Jason Martin and Dr. Carnita Atwater. And we're going to do everything on our part as a state party to continue to elevate those candidates and make sure that their messages are resonating with people. And I always say this, until we have a candidate out of the primary, then the state party has to be the candidate who is really, truly dragging down the governor's poll numbers and taking them head on. And in the coming days, you're going to see a very aggressive approach to how we start to take on this governor for re-election. Tennessee
Democrats have not had a Democrat in the governor's seat since 2010 when Phil Bredesen ended his term. They've not had a U.S. senator since 1995. That's a long period of time. Why can't Democrats win statewide elections? While you don't know the candidate, what's your strategy to help them win in the fall?
I mean, it's clear we haven't been organized the way that we will be organized, and we frankly have not had our messaging centered around ordinary, hardworking people. We're going to be head-on focused on bettering the lives of people. Until we can do those two things, we're going to continue to struggle, but I think we're in a really great place for 2022 and 2024.
We're down to the last couple of minutes, so the Lee administration may be announcing some more details about what kind of change it's going to make in the state's controversial education funding formula. What do Democrats want? Everybody wants more money. SCORE, the education group, is talking about another $1 billion. Is that enough? And are you also concerned that what the governor may be outlining is a backdoor way to get a voucher program?
Absolutely. All of the governor's intentions have thus far been driven by a political agenda. What does Democrats want? I believe we simply want our students and our educators in school districts in rural and urban areas and suburban areas to have the needed tools and resources to be successful. As simple as that. Whether that's making sure that teachers are paid adequately or making sure that children have the best facilities to learn in that doesn't have deferred maintenance and all of these things. So there's a whole lot that needs to be taken into account. There's a huge investment that needs to go into vocational programs so that our children are just not thinking about four-year colleges and institutions, but are able to leave high school with certifications that can really set them up for careers. So I think there's a whole conversation that has to happen. I don't trust that the governor has taken the right steps and has truly had integrity in the process. There's a political agenda behind everything he has done.
Mr. Chairman, very briefly, the governor is, at least in his formula that's come out so far, it does appear at least to recognize that urban systems, school systems face much different problems than rural systems. So are you at least feeling some comfort about that in about 10 seconds?
Absolutely not. He has taken every shot he can at urban school systems.
Chairman Hendrell Remus, thank you so much for being on the program. Good luck to the Democratic Party. You've got your work cut out for you between now and the end of 2022.
Thanks so much for having me.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, you can go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you here next time. Goodbye.